Hello, Maria Kolegova. Welcome to CES.
Thank you. Hey, Daniel, and thank you so much for having me this week.
It's a real pleasure to meet you, but well, it would have been perfect to meet you in person. Hopefully it will be the case next time. But we'll take what we have for now. So yeah, you just finished your third day.
Yeah.
With us. So,
yes.
And like it's what we do. We do an interview with each teacher after like a couple of days to talk about them and to meet them and get to know them. So my first question is, where are you from and where do you live now?
I'm originally from Russia, from a city named Yekaterinburg. It's like in a valley of Ural Mountains. We used to say it's a door to Siberia. So it's really cold in the winter and really hot in the summers. And it's a very actually flat landscape, a lot of people. And I have to say it's a big pride that I'm quite proud of it, that my city has a very good development in contemporary dance. I would say not long time ago, but it started quite with the first company, which is worldwide famous. It's Provincial Dances, led by Tatiana Baganova. So they used to have a lot of tours around the world. They used to do the scholarships for the dancers. I mean, it's quite, so the company is based there. About me, I started studying since I was 5 years old, and I started to do ballet school, like the most typical Russian dancers is Russian dance education is ballet, of course. And it was going for 8 years, and then I started later. I got an opportunity. It was very quite an accident to meet and to get know a center of contemporary art in my hometown, which was led by director, producer. He was not a choreographer, but more like a theater director, Lev Shulman. So he was in the head of School of Contemporary Dance. And from age 14, I started to study there for 4 years. And that's how it started, like a roller coaster, started to run my, let's say, dance career, I would say that times already, because it was biggest amount of international workshops. He was connected to many teachers which were coming from US, from Holland, from England, and we had, of course, different techniques, which was also very educative, and but in a bit different way. It was, I would say, not like a normal studying program. It was from 8 in the morning until, I don't know, etc.
A way of life more.
Yeah, so it was more, it was a free time, but of course the classes were classes. And I remember it was a great, my first contemporary class. It was a huge discovery for my body. I mean, of course, at 14 years old, you don't understand so much. You don't realize with the brain so much things, but it was great time. It was a beautiful time. And of course, with the ballet background, it was, I would say, a bit easier in some things, but because there were a ballet subject of ballet dance, and it was very nice. My teachers were friends in an academy, so it was like, oh yeah, you come from there. Oh yeah. So it's also, I remember, it was a very interesting question. I had to do a little audition to enter the school. And we had the class of ballet, and the second class was contemporary dance, and the third class was like a little theory of music or something. I remember it was very strange, very awkward. I felt a bit very uninformed about the I don't know, classic composers or something. And then in the ballet class, we were doing bar, and then we were going in the middle exercises. And then she came to me, the teacher, and she was like, "Oh, you are a student of Elena Sherbakova, my teacher from ballet school." And I still realize by myself now that how clear was the technique of ballet passed from the teacher, you know, what the teacher passes to the students, how clear the lines, I don't know, it's the same. The movements are coming from mid of 18th century, but it's so great it was so, and I remember I was so touched, but still now I'm like, of course, like with all the life going in different directions, it's so great to have I remember it was great to have this feeling. Yeah, I'm from her, and she was like, okay.
Wonderful. But eventually, you left Russia. Where you went away. You went. Where do you live now?
Well, I'm based in Belgium, in Brussels. But before, when I finished the theater, I did the theater in university. It was like very many things, but I continued dancing for a little company we had in my hometown. There was still creations and like a lot of things, a lot of beautiful workshops, many beautiful teachers. And then like there was one choreographer who came to make a piece, Larissa Alexandrova. She's based in Moscow. Mm-hmm. And she made a proposition to me and to my friends. She was like, okay, would you like to join the creation in Moscow, the project? So we were like, well, why not? And that was my first going away from my family, my mother and my father and my big family. So it was pretty tough times in the beginning, personally, but creatively it was incredibly interesting. It was new people, new understanding of the movement, everything. Another life, you know, to live independently, separately from my family. It was very like a big step. And from then on, I'm living separate from my family. And then actually happened the same, more or less, not the same, but it was the same way that Yelena Fokina, she's also originally from Russia, from Moscow. She was dancing for Wim, for Ultima Ves, for, I don't know for how many, for 14 years. And she did many pieces with him. And then she came to Moscow to make a piece. And she gave me opportunities. She said, would you like to do audition for Wim, for Ultima Ves? And I remember I just got an email from her and I was like jumping in the sofa. The sofa broke. So I was just like super happy. And then by doing audition, I moved again to Belgium. I had another move. And so I moved again from Russia. Yes. So, and then the career in Belgium was to enter the company, and then I did a couple of revivals. Mm-hmm. This was the first piece of Wim. It was Ultima Ves, What the Body Does Not Remember. That was a piece of 1986, and the revival was in 2013. Mm-hmm. So in 2012 we had creation, and then that's how it started rolling. We had unforgettable world tour. We literally did 6 continents, and it was great team. It was people. It was actually my first experience because I was always working in the company in the theater in Moscow also. So it was, of course, we were all Russians, so the same mentality. But this was 9 people, the cast, so 9 different nationalities. And that was, that's how we were brought together on the stage. And it was unforgettable. It was great. And then, of course, another experiences, because with every piece there are different casts more or less, but some people go from one to another. Well, depends from the from them as well, if they would like to continue, or they do something else, something more,
What
they
about
own.
your teaching? How did it start? How did you start teaching dance actually?
Actually, I started teaching jazz dance in the beginning.
Oh, yeah.
I was a teacher of jazz dance. I was so fascinated by jazz dance, by everything what it has to do with this, well, just one time I was around 16 years old, about 16 I think, and I went from my hometown, I went to Moscow. It was my first trip, like I was with my family still, and there was a summer school, and I took classes of one of the teachers there, and she taught jazz dance, but like the level of I don't know, crazy legs, crazy curves, amazing. So they're very technical, very difficult, and that's how I fell in love with jazz dance. And it was also very like the shape of the movement was very precise, and like in ballet, but more with with the like as we all imagine. So, and yes, I started teaching at 17. I've got also opportunity from our director. He was very creatively, he taught me, we were like 5 people in the beginning, 5 people, and then we got to 10. So we're 10 people in the studio, like doing a little bit of creations by ourselves and proposing things, and he gave to me the opportunity to teach to me and to some people also. They were teaching contemporary, I was teaching jazz, and young teachers, and full of energy and desire. And then by moving to Moscow, there was there is a theater studio of contemporary dance led by Igor Shigay and Irina Afonina. They are leading the studio, like the dance studio for children. Okay. And also there was a great opportunity to teach for them, and also to do a little creations, like a miniatures, like small piece of from 7 to 10 minutes. I remember always, like in my and it was very nice. So also there I had in Europe it got a bit later, not immediately, but a bit later. I had to I was a bit in the beginning, I was a bit assisting Wim in workshops, and also teaching a bit around. It was like a bit of classes, and the main thing, I'm really grateful to have also opportunity to teach for university in Antwerpen. They are amazing people there. The students are so talented. Of course, they have to pass an audition for like 3-4 days. Wow. Full with with all the kind of classes, with the improvisation, with their own solos, and of course the selection ends up with the very, very talented people. Wow. And this is really incredible experience for me, because it's they give me we are agreeing like 2-3 weeks period, and then there is 2-3 weeks of full energy going just there, and it's great. I really learned a lot. I'm teaching there since I think I'm not gonna lie, I don't remember, 2016 I think. And it's every year, every course of people, it's from 10 to 14, 13 people. It's really, they are so unique, so different. But the pity thing it's not so pity, but it's very sad to realize that there are so many beautiful dance students, and it's more and more difficult, especially with the last year of pandemic and all the things. It's more and more difficult to find your place, your
work
spot, somewhere. But it's very
it's the same here. Actually, we have many good young dancers coming out of the schools, and they have to face a very tough reality.
Yeah.
So it's not only a question of talent, it's a question of opportunities and.
Exactly. Yes. So I would love to. I just wish to help all of them to take all of them. And no, really, because it's, of course, some people, some dancers. I know my colleague, for example, they just graduated university and they made with all of them, with all the course, they made a company.
Ah, oui.
But like it's easy to say to make a company, but they were trying to make their own pieces. They were trying to continue together because they were so good together. It's also they are so nice with each other, and they're beautiful. They're so different, like very different. Some of them, they're super strong with the theatrical intention. Some of them, I mean, they're all great. So it was just amazing to realize that that's a great example of like keeping up, you know.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, young and strong and talented, and this is very important. And then they have this beautiful step.
So let's go back to you. What is your teaching philosophy like? Because you've been teaching for like many years now, since you started so young. What is the thing that is important to you as a teacher?
Well, first of all, I don't like to say a word to teach. Maybe it will come with the age. I will say I would like to teach. Yeah, of course, teaching is a right intention. Of course, I'm a teacher. I give you movement. I give you, but it's still about them, about the participants, about people to who I give material. That's only one thing I am doing, why I am doing this. It's about people. So I'm not gonna do crazy stuff if I see that people need more time to get to there, you know. So the philosophy, the main philosophy, well, I still like to make it physical, to make active, to make an activity which you're gonna sweat from. So it's important to have. Well, for me, it's normally happens like I have like a warm up, different moments. Of course, depends from the space you have, but it's always adaptable. But it's always more or less the same structure of the class. It's a warm up on the floor, up. Going to the exercises, starting from the floor and going up. The main goal when we get up from the floor, when we get to the last dance material, which is the most interesting thing for me, because I'm always surprised in a good way how people, not maybe them by themselves, but their bodies, use the basics we just did for a warm-up. Sometimes I have to remind, to make it easier, remember this, I don't know, like this movement, remember this activity. So it is very, very nice. Okay, maybe not today, but maybe next day. It's great. It's just amazing to see how it really works. So just to make an introduction of in the warm-up by using time and space and people's time, also to see how the body gets to the point of it is like there. You don't have to do anything, you know. And of course, for me, it's always nice to work with the lines. It's great, but it's also how to make it more natural. Like I always sometimes I give such a silly examples, but in another hand, for example, a silly example from the real life, like I'm walking in the street or I'm running to get a tram or something. It's about the necessity of that's why the speed appears. That's why the body action becomes exactly with this intention. So to give intention is I think it's very important. And to give a silly examples is also not so bad, I have to say. It's just funny that people are like, what do you mean? I mean what I mean. It's like this. So I would say I just spoke about more about the structure, but in general, the philosophy, the last dance phrase is the happy end of the whole 2 hours we were sweating, you know, to learn tools, but only to learn tools and tools. I'm saying like the simple variations of the movement or whatever. It's only one thing, but also to do it with why we do this.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
This sometimes, not sometimes, most of the time, I don't have time to also go to each movement because it also gets a bit boring. Mm-hmm. But whenever we have time, I also speak too much. I say, okay, let me know when you get tired of me because it's too much of things. Sometimes it goes a bit too much, but to explain why we are doing this. For that, by learning material, by learning whatever technical material, doing the technical class, by the end of the week, for example, or by the end of the session with the workshops, I would like to see them. I don't want to see myself anymore because, as was just I said today during the workshop, yes, you have to, I mean, you learn the phrase. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you learn a dance phrase, but look at you guys. Every person is unique.
Yeah.
Every person is doing so different. How great it is, how amazing. I mean, in ballet, we learned how to, everybody were chosen by the height, by the shape, the kids, and we all had to learn the same and to dance the same. And how you can, the same in unisono, but how you can dance a unisono, but being very different. This is very beautiful. It's very beautiful to observe and very beautiful to realize that I could give something that I also get exchange, you know, I receive back. So the last 2 days, I'm really trying to make them, so I give simple tasks. Think about this, think about that, and then we're gonna have time in the studio, and then we're gonna, because a dance phrase is one thing, but when the person is, I observed it many times in with people, that when they start, they say, okay, now you show yourself, like for example, yeah, no, not you don't show yourself, but show your own quality. How would you move? And it's just surprising. I'm always surprised to see how people good in their own movement, how they're good in their own physicality, and they don't need my stuff. So it's maybe they're gonna use a couple of movements they learned or they like, but the most of the thing is their body which does it. So it's very makes it, which is very fascinating to see, I have to say, still.
Would you say that it's like at the end of a workshop or at the end of a full week of teaching, would you say that this is the one thing that you would like them to keep from you, like to be themselves or to have their own way of moving, their own identity?
Well, that's very important thing, to have their own way of moving. But of course, I would be happy if they would learn something and if you would steal something from me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's nice. Yeah,
they would own it. That's my. I also like to mention that, own it, make it yours. Yeah. So you don't rent it anymore. You buy it. You know. So that's the goal of if they get it, and if they, I don't know. Well, for me, it's always so sweet to see. I will practice your stuff, or to hear I will practice your stuff, and then whenever I come back somewhere to teach again, the people are already know more than me because they were practicing, and me, I'm stayed a bit in my bubble or something, like working with my own stuff. But then they already developed it so well, and it becomes theirs. So it is very important for them and for me, first of all, and for them as well, to get the point. Yeah, did they gain something from me? Did they get something? If not, then not today, then next time. For sure. Yeah. Yeah.
You feel like teaching dance is when you were a student and now you're sharing the knowledge that you have. Do you notice any? Is it different for you from the way you received and not the way you give now? Yeah, what are the differences that you can not imagine, but notice? Sorry.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, I understand what you mean. Well, I have to say, I am still as a student. I am, beg your pardon. I'm still like a student in a way that when I'm taking part in creation, or I create something my own, I still have to learn a lot.
Yeah.
And to learn for me, it's super great. Super cool. I love learning, and I think it's important always to be wondered, to be surprised. Otherwise, you get it's gonna get a bit boring. So for yourself, so and also to learn for me. And then, for example, let's say I'm teaching a week, and then from Monday on, I start a creation as a dancer. Or let's say when I was a student, of course, when I was taking classes, it's a bit long time ago, but I'm trying to now to always compare. It comes unconsciously, like it comes without me controlling this thing. I would be like, oh, I was just saying to the students, to participants, to do that, and I'm not doing this now. So I'm lying to myself. It's a bit flat way to say it. I'm a bit cheating, So why I do this to myself? I have to be quite, this kind of self insecurity. Sometimes, not sometimes, most of the times appears in me when I change, and sometimes even the half day teaching and the second day of going to studio for creation is also happening time to time. And this is really, it's a brainstorm. You get like, wow, but it's a great feeling. It's a great, even just to take, because in the company, in the last creation I did, there were teachers coming in the morning to do warm up for us, 1.5 hours. And I'm also doing a teaching, or I just finished my teaching in university, and then I joined the warm up class, and I'm like, wow, I'm a student. It's completely this. I'm just taking part. Okay, I have a teacher and I'm a student. So you start to ask a lot of questions to yourself. Me, I start like, I'm a bit like, okay, I have to really be honest with the teacher, not to mark or whatever. Yeah, it's really a strong feeling.
As a student now, are you a different student than the student you were when you were a little girl in Russia? Or are you entering the class in a different way? Are you taking the material in a different way? Are you asking more questions, or just taking what you need and leaving the what is your, how did it change?
Yeah, I'm definitely another student now.
Yeah,
definitely. And I'm so happy to be another one, because before I was quite serious with the things, and I was quite demanding from myself, that why I cannot do this movement, for example. Why, like, I think I was asking more questions when I was younger than when I was still studying than now. I think, because now, of course, it's like, I always give this example of okay, if I cannot spin on my head, I just cannot. I tried many times. I cannot spin on my head. It's an example. Yeah. So, but I go to do like, for just my own, for appetite, for my development as a dancer, I go to do a class of breakdance, for example, and I cannot spin on my head. And they all spin. They put the head on. They have like a little sponge here, and they all like this. So I'm a bit like, fine. Like, are you happy to spin on the head? Okay, fine. I'm not happy. So, and they give like a bit of like phrases, like you go tack, you go here, ta ta ta, and then you spin on your head. And I'm a bit like, yeah, but I cannot do this. Okay, then adapt. So do something. I don't know. Do like try to make a transition. And I would say now it's a difference between me being younger and trying to do everything, without even understanding and without noticing things, how they would be easier, how it would be less painful, let's say, let's call it a simple way, painful, less dangerous.
Mhm.
Then now I really realize, and I'm aware so much about my physicality and body, and before I was just going for it and falling and hitting myself or not, so it was very different. But now it's more okay, I need first to digest. It was a book of one of the balletmeisters, the choreographers of ballet, and he said very nice thing. He said, ballet dancers, the thoughts come from the feet. It comes here. Contemporary dancers, it's already my own theory, I think. Contemporary dancers, it comes from here to the body. So it's totally another way of thinking.
Yeah.
Ballet, you are there from 5 years old, whatever age. At 5 years old, you don't think. You just do, and you train, and then you have a teacher, you have students to look up to, some better, so you always look up to, so, and then you try to reach the same result, and that was exactly my own also understanding of like, that was it. So I was thinking, and then you start going through the body, and then it appears, and then you are saying, aha, this movement would be different if I would be a bit taking care, or if I would understand this, an action, a movement, or phrase, or the whole piece, dance piece, a bit better with my head. That's what I like in contemporary dance, that it's like, it's not only about the shape.
Yeah.
And it's also not, I would say it's also not so, for me, it's not so philosophical, contemporary dance, as, for example, theater.
Okay.
For me, the theater, it's more, a theater, I'm saying like a theater piece, or even a movie, like they have a story. So by just watching a painting or a picture in a magazine or in a book, you can get an ideas and inspiration for your action, for even for movement sometimes. This is why I was saying that how the plastic bag flies in the wind. Yeah. It's just genius. But it's just a plastic bag in the wind, from one place. So for that, the quality becomes different, or like how the I don't know, the iron bottle is like, I don't know, like things which are like next to you, next to us in life, and to go from this, it's the content of the movement, it's different, and that's why it's very important to start with maybe with the head, or maybe even not. We don't know. Maybe we do the movement, and then we make a movement phrase, and then we see that there could be a story or something, a content of. So yeah.
We can talk about that for a long time. Unfortunately, we don't have so much time. I would like.
Just let me know when I have to.
It's we always do a little game at the end of the interview with our guests. So
okay.
It's only 10 questions, and you have to answer as quickly as you can. And there's no right or wrong answer. So
okay, it's only yes, no, or no.
Not necessarily. Not necessarily. Like the first question is, what other profession would you have liked to attempt if you were not a dancer?
Physiotherapist.
Tell me something you always wanted to do but you never did.
To jump with a parachute.
Oh. Do you prefer performing on stage or being in the studio rehearsing?
These times performing on the stage. I really miss it.
Yeah. If you have one word to describe yourself, what would it be?
Giraffe.
Reality or fiction?
Reality. only.
Do you have an addiction? If so, what is it?
Cleaning.
Oh.
Yeah, totally. Cleaning, that's my real addiction. It's not healthy.
What is your favorite curse word?
Oy.
You can say it.
In Russian, of course. No, I'm not gonna say it. Do I have to?
It's up to you.
Well, when I teach, I always say shit, which is always, I change to shoot, so it's better. I'm getting better. I'm saying shit to myself. I'm not saying to the
Yes.
participants. Oh, shit. Oh, sorry. I forgot the material. I mean, this way.
A show that you saw that made a big impact on you. Do you remember?
Excuse me.
Is there a show that you saw before that made a big impact on you?
There are a couple of them, but one show I saw live, it was with my mom when I was 13. And it was exactly this transition from ballet school to contemporary school. I saw the show of the one of the choreographers in the theater, and it was so real. And I think it made like the biggest impact for me ever. I think it's like changed my. I remember I couldn't speak after. My mom was like, "Are you okay?" Like I have to go there to study. So that was the thing.
If you could change one thing, what would it be?
What would it be? I would maybe one thing. Yeah, I don't know. I would learn how to jump differently, because when I jump, I don't know. I feel my lower back a bit. So I think this I would start I would start learning how to make my skills in jumping. I would take some workshops for it, I think, and before. Silly. In life, I have to think what I would do. Nothing. I think I am where I am, and I am there what I have to be. So
wonderful.
Yeah. So
my last question is, what is your state of mind at the moment?
Now I'm a state of mind. I was lost for a couple of times, like recently, because it was another let's say time of nothing doing. But for now, I'm quite happy to work now. I mean, exactly. I'm saying about this week because it's a great opportunity, and I frankly I didn't have so many classes online to teach, but I had some. That's what I mentioned to you, and it's always a great challenge because you are just the best friend with your computer. Always have to take care of him, like. Yeah, I'm quite stable in the way of. For now, I have this. Let's see later. I don't want to think about. But for now, yes, good.
Thank you so much, Maria. It was a pleasure to meet you, to get to know you better.
Thank you, Daniel. Thank you so much.
I really hope that we can meet in person the next time.
Yes, let's cross fingers.
Until then, well, I wish you all the luck and to keep working.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Daniel. I also wish you a great day. For you guys, it's just starting, I think.
We're there. Yeah.
Yes, and we're gonna see each other still these 2 days.
Yeah.
And yes, thank you so much for the interview. It was a great pleasure to speak and to laugh a bit. Thanks.
Wonderful.